Yo guys, welcome to the Zelda Fiction. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto got banished and becomes the Emperor? Part 2. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. The sun was now shining in the large room. Naruto and Euphemia hadn't moved from the position they were in. It was almost a routine for them whenever Naruto had his nightmares. They would stay up until it was time to start their day. Though she would sometimes be tired and needed a rest, Euphemia knew it was her duty to make sure her husband was okay. She would even sometimes take over his responsibilities for the day if he felt he needed to be alone. Husband and wife were talking about random things before a knock came at the door. Naruto groaned, knowing who it was without even getting up from Euphemia's lap. "No, Walter. Please give us like another 20 minutes, Naruto yelled as the knocks only came louder. "Walter, I said no." Euphemia could only giggle at her husband's antics. The door opened anyway. In stepped a tall thin man. He was wearing black pants, a white dress shirt with a purple tie and a purple vest. He was wearing white gloves today, and his hair was in its usual ponytail. He had a soft grin on his face, amused at the young emperor's antics this morning, though he was used to it. "I apologize, Naruto-sama, but you have a council meeting today, and you told me yesterday that no matter what you say, to wake you up without fail," the butler replied as Naruto buried his face in Euphemia's lap and groaned. He most definitely did tell him that, and for good reason, but Naruto was in no mood to do anything right now. Another figure soon joined the three others in the room. She rode in on her wheelchair, with a soft grin on her face as well. She could hear her brother-in-law from down the hall, knowing all too well the mood he was in this morning. "Nai-chan, it's time to wake up," she said strongly as Naruto unburied his face to look at her. He could only sigh in defeat. It was going to be a long day today. "Hi, Nunnally," Naruto said as his tired look turned to a smile as he saw his sister-in-law. Naruto had a large soft spot for Nunnally. Not because she was disabled, but because of how she compassed herself despite her paralysis. He saw the way she looked at life and how she never let anything bother her. Not to mention the fact that she was family now, and that was something he always wanted. Having a little sister gave him a sense of responsibility to be a good example of a ruler, especially since she was one of the very first ones to put her trust in him. "Well, as much as I would love to stay in this comfortable bed with my beautiful wife, it seems that duty calls," Naruto sarcastically spoke aloud as he gave his wife a kiss on the lips before getting out of bed to get ready for the day. As he got ready, there was a noticeable pop of orange coming from the open closet. No matter how old Naruto was, he could never get over his obsession with orange. Luckily Euphemia was alright with the color, yet told him he needed nicer clothes to wear to work. Naruto just stuck with a nice orange-collared dress shirt and black slacks in his shoes. Nunnally joked about Naruto's wardrobe one day, that even though she was blind, the orange was almost too strong for her eyes. Simple, effective, and downright sexy, Naruto remembered Euphemia saying, which led him to wear almost the same thing every day. As Naruto finished getting ready, he went off to work. Walter followed as Nunnally stayed in the room with her sister, who also needed to start getting ready. "You really know how to pick them, Nii-sama," Nunnally joked, which got a laugh out of Euphemia. As Naruto walked down the large hall to get to the stairs, he saw Itachi looking out at the view of the city. Naruto thanked Walter for the wake-up call. "Of course, Naruto-sama," the butler bowed. "Ah. What did I say, Walter? No need for the sama. You know that," Naruto huffed as he was never one for formal greetings. The butler just smiled as he took his leave. Naruto made his way over to Itachi, who never took his gaze off of the beautiful view of the city. The sun was just about rising, and Itachi could see the people in the city about to start their day. "It's a beautiful view, isn't it?" Naruto asked as he stood by Itachi, also focusing his gaze on the awakening city. "It really is. I can't believe this place was just a wasteland just a few years ago. Now, it's a beautiful city and country that we can call home now," Itachi said as he turned to look at Naruto. "I also can't believe how much you've grown, Naruto. You were a troublemaker and now look at you. You're the emperor of probably the most powerful country mankind will ever see," Itachi finished as he saw Naruto put on a smile. It was indeed a true statement. "Alright, lover boys, as much as I hate to break up this intimate moment between the two of you, we do have a meeting to get going to," Jiraiya said as he appeared behind the two. Naruto just gave him the middle finger and laughed as they went downstairs to exit the emperor's palace. As they stepped outside, they were soon joined Shigeru Kasaka and Kisame. As they headed to the council chambers, the group passed a few civilians who were also starting their day. "Aheo Gozaimasu, Emperor-sama," a villager said as he bowed when the group passed. "Thank you for all your hard work, Emperor-sama," said another villager as she bowed when the group passed. The group of young children were heading off to the school and saw the group passing by. "Aheo Gozaimasu, Emperor-sama," they all yelled in unison. They followed the example of the previous villagers and bowed before the group. "Don't be late for school now." Naruto said to the children as they all yelled hi. The group stopped to let the kids run off for school. Naruto could only smile at them as he watched them run off. Huh, weren't you always late for class, Gaki? Look at how ironic that is, Jiraiya joked as Naruto elbowed him in the ribs. The group passed a few more civilians on the way, and they all reacted the same way as the previous ones the group had met. Naruto had started doing this from time to show face to the people in the West. He wanted to be able to interact with his people and give them encouragement. It was weird at first for Naruto, getting greeted politely and kindly by others. He wasn't used to it. It kinda freaked him out to see how much people were acting nice to him. Itachi had to remind him that it was because they genuinely loved him. The people were loyal and respectful, and were very grateful to Naruto for helping to bring peace to the West. After some time, Naruto came to appreciate this and began a routine to start appearing more in public as emperor. About 10 minutes went by and the group finally made it to their destination. The large council chambers building where most of the meetings were held. This is where most of the council conducted their work and also heard different complaints and disputes. Naruto had a large office in the building as well. He would conduct his business, i.e. paperwork, for part of the day. Other emperor responsibilities were held at his palace. As Naruto and the group made their way to the council room, Shigure broke off from the group, her duties done for now. The rest of them made their way up, where the council had already gathered and were just waiting for Naruto. Western Council Room. They all stood as they saw Naruto enter the room. He took a moment to look around the room. Even after 3 years of these meetings, he still wasn't used to the attention. As soon as he took a seat, everyone else took theirs as they prepared for the meeting. Seems like everyone is here, let us begin, he said as everyone prepared their documents. Flashback 5 years earlier. The Thousand-Year War. No one really knew when the fighting started in the West, and no one ever thought that it would stop. Battle for territory, resources, and power were all the main focuses of the war. And as luck would have it, Naruto, Jiraiya, Itachi and Kisame just so happened to get thrust right in the thick of it. They were lucky to meet up with powerful allies such as Saitama and Ryuzen Paku. As promised, Jiraiya, Itachi, Kisame, Saitama, and the rest of Ryuzen Paku went to work in helping to train Naruto. After learning of who his parents really were, Jiraiya made sure that Naruto would learn and master the art of Fuinjutsu, knowing that being able to seal would come in handy, regardless of the situation. Jiraiya also made sure that Naruto would be able to master his wind nature type. Itachi trained Naruto in being able to break Genjutsu. The masters of Ryuzen Paku had mentioned that there were those in the West that could get the user under their control just by looking into their eyes. Luckily, this was similar to the Uchiha, who used their Sharingan for that exact reason. Kisame helped train Naruto in Kenjutsu. Though he wasn't proficient at using a sword, Naruto was able to hold his own against one of the former swordsmen of the mist. Kisame also helped Naruto control the Kyuubi chakra. Since the chakra was very new to Naruto, it would sometimes overtake him, even with the Kyuubi not trying to do it on purpose. Kisame deduced that Naruto would need to be pushed to his limits in order to get his body used to the power of the Kyuubi chakra. Speaking of Kurama, Naruto had many talks with it on a daily basis. Naruto made sure to tell Jiraiya everything that the Kyuubi had told him, even that he had a name. Jiraiya cautioned Naruto to be wary of the beast, knowing all too well that the fox still had an agenda and that using Naruto could be a pawn in the beast's plans. Naruto, of course, was a bit curious at befriending Kurama and finding out more about him. During one of their talks, Kurama had mentioned about lifting the seal off the cage in order to give Naruto the full use of the Kyuubi chakra. Naruto was hesitant. He knew that the beast being set free could mean bad things for not only him, but the others around him. He also still felt uneasy about Kurama killing his parents and all that. He needed to consult Jiraiya about the conversation. No. As your godfather and as your guardian, you are not allowed to remove that seal, Jiraiya huffed as he smashed a Rasengan into an enemy samurai. But Iro-Sennin, he's allowing me to use his chakra, the least I could do is set him free. He hasn't taken over my body ever since he told me about my parents, Naruto said as he slammed 2 Rasengans into a group of enemy combatants. That's not the point, Naruto, Jiraiya started as he dodged attacks from a staff-wielding enemy. Jiraiya easily deflected the staff and punched the enemy across the field they were fighting on. He can't be trusted. He could be just buying his time. You even said you don't trust him fully, Gaki. What if he does take over your body, then what? None of us here would be able to stop the beast from rampaging, and also none of us know the Shiki Fuin anyways, he finished as he started to weave signs. Fuchius no Jutsu. Amabunta appeared as he slammed onto a squad of advancing enemy soldiers who were descending on the Ryuzen Paku lands. This was the second straight day of fighting. It seemed like these guys kept coming, but with resiliency, the masters of Ryuzen Paku and the Eastern Shinobi allied with them kept fending them off. You need to trust me, Iro-Sennin. I promise he won't take over my body and besides, I need to learn to master his chakra. I can't do that with him sealed. Kisame even said so himself. Naruto yelled from nearby as he summoned his shadow clones. I trust you, Gaki. It's the fox I don't trust. Look, my decision is final, you are not allowed to touch the seal. If I find out you do, I swear I'm going to make Saitama break every bone in your body and then send you to Akasam to put it back together, only to let Saitama do it again. Jiraiya yelled from atop Gamabunta's head. Naruto just shivered. Though it sounded like a joke, Jiraiya wasn't kidding, and going to Akasam's orthopedic clinic was not something he wanted to ever do. Naruto huffed as he continued fighting. Eventually, the battle was won. Up to this point, there were no casualties for the side of Ryazan Paku. The training that had taken place over the years was paying dividends. They were able to defend their territory without fail. Naruto, on the other hand, couldn't stop thinking about lifting the seal for Kurama. He needed to do it if he wanted to get closer to his ultimate goal, which was to destroy Konoha. Yet, Jiraiya's words to him did make sense. He didn't know the fox's intentions. He still didn't fully trust Kurama, because the fox killed his parents and all that stuff. However, Naruto also contemplated that the war seemed like it would never end. Sure, they had made some allies in the first year, but it didn't feel like they were making any progress. The Ryazan Paku members were more concerned about defending their territory instead of branching out and trying to overtake others. So of course, curiosity would get the best of young Naruto. Yet, he wasn't ready for what would happen next. After a long day of training, Naruto found himself in his room. It was a quiet evening, with no fighting occurring tonight. It was one of the few peaceful nights that Naruto was lucky enough to get. He was tired, both mentally and physically. It was another day when he could barely control the QB chakra. The chakra burned through parts of his clothes, leaving large rips and patches in his orange jumpsuit. Naruto was pissed. It was already a year since he started training with Kisame to try and control the large amounts of chakra Kurama was allowing him to use. If only he could just let the fox out. Things would be easier since Kurama could help him control the chakra. He was starting to not care about Jiraiya's threat. He then found himself in his mindscape. Something troubling you, Gaki? Kurama asked as Naruto appeared in front of him. How did you know? Naruto asked as Kurama laughed. I'm connected with you, remember? I can hear everything you think. I can feel everything you feel. You're back here thinking about lifting the seal again, he said. I was. If you can hear everything I think, why haven't you called me here before? Naruto asked. Well, you've thought about it so much and have never come close to actually doing it, so why bother? Just know, it'll take you an eternity to control my chakra properly without my help. Kurama explained, which made Naruto very frustrated. He knew what the fox was saying was true. Naruto just sat in front of the jail cell in silence. He stared at the seal. Staring at the seal was only making Naruto angrier. After some thinking and going over it in his head, Naruto stood up. Kurama watched him intently, watching the blonde's every move. Naruto jumped up, preparing to rip the seal before getting tackled to the ground. Kurama's eyes widened, the feeling he was having felt eerily similar to the past. The fox then noticed two figures standing over Naruto. They were the source of his lengthy jail sentence in Naruto. Naruto was a little dizzy after being tackled to the ground. He didn't know if Kurama did something to him or what, but he didn't even touch the seal. As he got his bearings in order, he looked up to see two figures standing over him. He jumped back a little, startled at their appearance. A man with blonde spiky hair and blue eyes were staring at him. He was wearing a white haori with red flames at the bottom of it. He looked eerily similar to the Yondaime, but Naruto wasn't sure. Next to the man was a woman with noticeably long, red hair. She was wearing a green blouse over a white short-sleeved dress shirt. She was smiling at him, something he found a little weird. Naruto didn't know who these people were, but were prepared to fight them if needed. Kurama. If you sent these people, it's not funny. I was going to lift the seal, damn it. Naruto yelled as the two strangers looked at each other, then back at him. They looked back to see Kurama up against the bars, with a nasty look on his face. Yondaime. Uzumaki Kushina. He roared, upset by the appearance of the people who forced him here. Yondaime. Uzumaki Kushina. My parents. But how am I seeing them? They're dead. This must be some kind of illusion that Kurama is doing, Naruto thought. He was very confused. The two strangers turned back to Naruto with smiles upon their faces. They both offered a hand to Naruto, who was a bit nervous about accepting their help. However, he felt a sort of peace about them. He took their hands as they both helped him up. He's a bit noisy, isn't he? The blonde man said with a smile. Why don't we go somewhere quieter, he said as they shifted to another part of the mindscape. They ended up in a bright yellow area. It seemed like there were no barriers or anything. As they arrived, Naruto jumped back, realizing he was still holding the two strangers' hands. Okay, just what in the hell is going on? He yelled as the two strangers could only laugh at his confusion. Kurama, if this is some type of joke, it ain't funny, you damn fox. He yelled, which got him a hard punch on the head. It. Naruto yelled in pain. He thought only Tsunade Bachin could hit that hard. Don't you dare lump us with that damn foxed bane. The woman yelled as she waved her fist at him. The man could only nervously laugh. Now Kushina, he doesn't know us, remember? We haven't introduced ourselves to him yet, the elder blonde said as he looked at Naruto. Are you okay, Naruto? He asked. Naruto shook off the pain as he looked to the man in confusion. How do you know my name? He asked. Well, I'm the one that named you. You are my son, after all, the man said before he too got a punch on the head. Excuse me. We named him. Don't take credit for all of this, Minato. I'm the one that had to push him out. The woman said as Minato rubbed his head too. You both named me. I'm your son. Naruto choked out. Let's do this properly, Minato. Yes, Sachi, you are our son. My name is Uzumaki Kushina. I'm your mother, obviously, she said with a smile as Naruto tried to force one out. I'm Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime. I am your father, Naruto, he said as Naruto was in a mix of emotions. This couldn't be right. He knew he was the son of both the Yondaime and Kushina, but they were dead. How was he seeing them, especially now? I know, Naruto was able to manage to say, much to the disbelief of Minato and Kushina. I see, Jiri, Minato started, but was soon cut off after getting a strong punch to the gut from Naruto. Even when he was dead, Naruto was still getting hit by Uzumakis everywhere. You sealed that damn fox inside of me. Do you know what I had to deal with my entire life because of that? Do you know how I was treated because of that damn thing? I even got banished because of it. Naruto yelled at his father, tears falling from his eyes. He then looked to Kushina, who only had a worried look in her eyes. She stepped forward and embraced her son. Tears starting to fall from her eyes as well. I know, Sachi. We've been watching from inside of you. We've seen how you've been treated. We know the pain that you're feeling right now, Kushina said as she cried with her son. Minato, having recovered from 2 Uzumaki punches, finally regained his composure. He put his hand on Naruto's shoulder. We know it wasn't easy for you, Naruto. I only did this because you are my son, and I only trust you. I understand if you can't forgive me as a father, but I want you to know that I believed that you would be able to fully harness the power of the Kyuubi Kushina, and I both know that it was a mistake to leave you alone with such a heavy burden to carry. But we believed that if anyone could do it, it would be you, Naruto, Minato said as Naruto turned to look at his father. He then hugged his father, who in turn hugged him back. The family reunited, embraced in a family hug. Naruto had so many questions to ask them both. How they met, how life was in the village during their time, how much they knew about the night of his birth, and everything that Naruto could imagine. Minato and Kushina took the time to tell Naruto every detail of everything he wanted to know. They also explained to him that before they died, they had placed some of their chakra into Naruto for the future, in case he ever needed them. They also wanted to know how Jiraiya was doing in training Naruto. Minato also wanted to know how Itachi was doing, knowing that one of the last Uchihas was with Naruto. Naruto then told them both about his intentions to release the seal off of Kurama. Minato and Kushina almost had the same reactions as Jiraiya. They both were hesitant about letting Naruto do that, for fear of the repercussions from the fox. Naruto convinced both of them that if they trusted him, they would let him do it. Minato and Kushina still loved Konoha. They had made all of their memories there. Yet, after seeing how their son was treated, they both agreed that it was time to move forward and be parents for a change and support their son. They both gave Naruto a loving look before Minato brought them back before Kurama, who was still in a fit of rage, seeing his former Jinchuriki and the man that sealed him into Naruto. So my former jailer and the man who sealed me into the Gaki have come back to see me, huh? Kurama sarcastically said as he was up against the bars of his cell. You know why I put you there, Kyuubi, Minato stated seriously. Oh, I do, and look what the results were because of it. You left your child an orphan and also caused him to get banished, Kurama replied. By Iota, Kushina was ready to release her chakra chains on the Kyuubi before Naruto stopped them both. Stop it. All of you. Look, I understand the hostility here, but I want both of your cooperation at the moment, he said as the two sides stopped for now. Look, Tu-chan, Ka-chan, this is something that I need to do. You put your trust in me and I don't want to let you down. There are things in this life that I must do. I know you both loved Konoha when you were alive, but the Konoha you know is gone. The will of fire in that village is no more. They spit on both of your legacies by treating me like shit. I'm going to make them pay for what they've done, Naruto said. Kushina was made just thinking about how Naruto was treated. Her hair started to glow and rise up as she waved her fist. You do it, Sachi. You take it to all of them. She yelled. No matter what path you take in this life, Naruto, we will always support you, was Minato's answer. Naruto then looked at Kurama. The fox looked back at the young blonde and just nodded. He knew supporting Naruto was the right thing to do, even though he felt some type of way about Minato and Kushina. Naruto, let's do this. Our chakra is running out. We don't have much time left. Minato said as the family made their way up to the seal. As a family, they removed the seal together, freeing Kurama from his cell after all these years. The fox grinned, then announced his freedom as he roared. He was finally free. He could hear Kushina yelling something as he looked down at the former Kunoichi. You better take care of him or else I'll come back from the afterlife myself and sick my chakra chains on you. Kushina threatened. Kurama just huffed at the threat. Naruto, come forward. We need to connect our chakras together, Kurama instructed as Naruto stepped forward as Kurama held out a fist to Naruto. Naruto held out a fist in return and bumped it with Kurama's. He could feel the surge of the QB chakra running through him now. He could feel it, but it wasn't hurting him. He wasn't being consumed by it. It was giving him power, a power that he didn't think was possible. When they were done, he ran to his parents, excited as could be. This elicited a smile out of Kushina and Minato. After a few moments, they noticed that they were starting to fade. Their time as a family was coming to an end. Will I ever see you guys again? Naruto asked, tears starting to fall from his eyes again. Of course you will, Sachi. We will all be a family again one day. Remember, no matter what path in life you take, we will always be supporting you. We will always be with you, Sachi. Also, remember to not be picky, eat your vegetables so you can grow strong, make sure you bathe every day, get your sleep, don't listen to Jiraiya's perverted speeches, find a good group of friends, find a girl like your mother, be true to yourself and most importantly, just know that we love with all of our hearts. Sorry, Minato, it seems I've used up all your time again, Kushina said as they were starting to fade away faster. It's okay, Kushina. Naruto, just remember everything your mother said and you will accomplish all of your goals in life. I love you, son. Minato finished as Naruto could only watch as his parents disappear. They had smiles on their faces as they waved goodbye to Naruto and finally vanished. Naruto awoke. He was still in his room as he got up. It was morning now. The sun was high up in the sky already and shining brightly. It was a beautiful day. Was that all a dream? Or did those things actually happen? He thought as he lifted his shirt to check the seal. The seal was gone. At that moment, Jiraiya walked past Naruto's room. He saw that the area where Naruto was looking was missing something. He finally noticed that the seal was missing. Naruto. What did I tell you about removing the damn seal? He said as he entered Naruto's room, mad as ever. I met them, Iro-sennin, Naruto said as he looked up at Jiraiya. Jiraiya stopped in his tracks. Met who, Naruto? Jiraiya asked. My parents, Naruto replied as he began to tell the story to Jiraiya. High in the sky, Minato and Kushina could be seen smiling as they were looking down at their son. It was his time now. It was his time to end the war. Euphemia was still getting ready in her bedroom as Nunnally waited patiently for her sister to finish. They had some things on their agenda, but overall, it wasn't going to be a very busy day. As she combed her hair, Euphemia looked at the pictures that surrounded the room. Some of them were of her and her family, some of them were of Naruto. There were also large pictures of her and Naruto on their wedding day, looking as happy as could be. She couldn't believe that it was 3 years ago that they got married. It felt like yesterday to her that they said their I do's to each other. There were so many great memories since that day that Euphemia could hardly remember them all. What are you thinking about, Ni-chan? Nunnally asked. For someone that was blind, Nunnally was very perceptive to the feelings in the room. Euphemia was always interested in how Nunnally knew exactly what she was thinking or looking at without even seeing her. Just some things, Euphemia replied, checking to see if her sister knew what she was thinking about. You're thinking about your wedding day, aren't you? Nunnally replied back, a large smile coming upon her face. You know me so well, don't you? Yes, I was thinking about my wedding day, Euphemia said as she went to sit on the bed to be closer to her sister. I still can't believe you married Naruto of all people. I still remember when Lelouch hated him. Like, literally couldn't stand him. Nunnally said bluntly as Euphemia let out a laugh as she had to agree with that statement. I still can't believe he became emperor too, Nunnally added. Well, you were one of the first people to speak up about nominating him for emperor, Euphemia slyly said. I know. Well, he was a big part of why the war ended and he also saved my life, Ni-chan, Nunnally retorted. Euphemia remembered that all too well. At first, she saw Naruto as nothing more than a friend. If you had asked Naruto that question, he would have said the same thing. They were friends and allies. Nothing more, nothing less. However, during the war, Naruto definitely changed that feeling for both himself and Euphemia. He also did save both their lives, for which Euphemia was eternally grateful for. She had watched him grow from a boy into a man in such a short span. As they spent time together, the two started to grow on each other. I guess when a couple spends a lot of time with each other, they are bound to fall for each other at some point. She remembered like it was yesterday. Flashback 5 years ago. It was early in their second year of the Thousand-Year War. The faction of Ryazan Paku was making serious progress in the war. Ever since the QB and he linked up, Naruto became a force to be reckoned with. Battles became overwhelmingly one-sided when Naruto transformed into his QB chakra mode. Entire fields were leveled because of the sheer power that was demonstrated from Naruto. He could turn the tide of any battle he was a part of. No matter if they were outnumbered 5-1, the side that had Naruto would win. The side of Ryazan Paku was able to gain quick alliances with other factions that were fighting. Most notably the Straw Hat Pirates, the Hunters, the Soul Reapers, Night Raid, the Alchemists, the Survey Corps, the Hellsing Organization, UA High School and the Saiyans. They also made allies with other individuals and smaller groups like Hamura Kenshin, Yusuke Urameshi, Inuyasha, and a few others. They quickly started to overtake territories that were held by hostile warlords and other powerful enemies. There was a council put in place to make sure that each ally was doing its part in the effort to end the war. Like Naruto, many of these factions wanted peace. They were tired of having to fight, not even remembering what they were fighting for other than protecting themselves. That is why when hearing of Naruto's preaching of peace, many flocked to Ryazan Paku to join their efforts. The council that led the Ryazan Paku Alliance as it was called were Hayato Furinji, All Might, Roy Mustang, Integra Hellsing, Son Goku, and Monkey D. Luffy. They made sure that all the work they were doing was only getting them closer to peace. Battle after battle, the Ryazan Paku Alliance came out victorious. They were on a roll, gaining territory and destroying those who threatened them. Of course, there were always those that remained neutral in the war. One of those factions that decided to remain neutral was the Britannia faction. Led by Lelich Vi Britannia, Euphemia, Nunnally, and Cornelia Lee Britannia, the Britannia faction was one of the strongest factions that didn't have many allies during the war. They were self-sufficient, having much more advanced technology than the other factions, that they didn't need to rely on gaining allies. They were, however, very protective over their lands. With their large army and air force, it was easy for the Britannias to repel invaders. They made quick work of anyone that tried to trespass in their territory. However, neutrality cannot last forever, especially during war. The Britannia faction was drawn into things when a battle between the Ryazan Paku-led forces faced off against a large force of Titans and Millenniums. The battle was bloody. Fighting spilled over into the lands of the Britannias. The border defenses for the were on high alert and the air force was sent in to kill anybody, regardless if they were hostile or not. Though they were successful in getting out most of the intruders, there were some that were missed by defense forces. It was at this time that the Alliance Council had gone to the Britannias in hopes to form an alliance, even though the council knew of Britannia's neutrality. However, the Britannias were impressed by the common goal they shared with the Ryazan Paku Alliance. It intrigued the Britannias, yet they did not come to an agreement with the alliance, citing that they wanted to keep their neutrality, though Lelich was very tempted. They did, however, keep their communications open with the alliance should anything change. Luckily, the open communications came in handy. A few days later, a group of rogue abnormal Titans and Millenniums kidnapped Nunnally in the dead of night. A rescue team was dispatched, led by Cornelia and her Nightmare Squadron. Unfortunately, they had no luck in retrieving the Nunnally. Lelich immediately sent a line of communication to the Ryazan Paku Alliance for assistance. Without hesitation, a squad consisting of Naruto, Itachi, Yusuke Urameshi, Gon Freaks, Deku, and a squad of Survey Corps members led by Levi Ackerman were sent to retrieve the kidnapped princess. The Survey Corps were sent first, trying to track where the Titans and Millenniums had gone. They had found them near the edge of the Britannia territory in a large forest. They sent a message to the rest of the group that they had located the Britannia princess. Itachi, who was the squad leader for this mission, sent Gon Freaks in first to lead the squad. His heightened sense of smell, vision, and hearing would allow the group to go in undetected. Once the coast was clear and the camp was detected, the group closed in. The plan was simple: get the princess out alive and in one piece. Kill anyone who resists. The group moved quietly in the trees. Everybody was in position. On Itachi's signal, they attacked. Yusuke fired the first shot. Spirit gun. Yusuke fired his signature weapon from his hand as his shot immediately dropped 5 Millennium members. Mass hysteria overtook the camp. The abnormal Titans, who were in human form, started to turn into their larger Titan form. Luckily, the Survey Corps swooped in to eliminate the few that were there. The rest of the Millennium were wiped out with ease. Itachi put the Millennium members into his Tsukiyomi, while Deku and Gon provided the necessary firepower with their Delaware Smash and Jigenkin respectively. Naruto was tasked with getting the princess out safely. When he got there, Nunnally was being moved by a Millennium officer in his jeep. Naruto raced after them. He was finally able to catch up, but the Millennium officer stopped and dragged the princess out of the jeep. He held a gun to her head as Naruto stopped in his tracks. Ah. One step closer and she goes boom, the Millennium Officer said as he raised the gun to Nunnally's head as he smirked at Naruto. Naruto, on the other hand, looked very unconcerned about the predicament. He had a plan for this. He knew the princess was scared. She was cut up and bruised, with tears falling from her eyes. "Hey now, let's just calm down and think about this for a second," he said as he put his hands in full view for the officer to see. He used this as a distraction as a clone sneaked up behind the officer. "No one has to get hurt here," Naruto said as the officer turned the gun towards Naruto. "You're right. Only you," the officer said before he found himself staring at a large ball of energy coming out of his chest. Naruto's clone had powered up a Rasengan. The officer dropped right there, releasing Nunnally. Naruto caught her, as she was too weak to move. He carried her away to the rendezvous point, where he waited for the rest of the squad to arrive. They arrived with no casualties and returned to the Alliance headquarters. As Naruto carried Nunnally into the medical facility, Lelouch, Euphemia, Cornelia, and the Alliance Council were waiting for them. Nunnally's siblings rushed to her side as Naruto put her onto a gurney. They thanked him for rescuing her and followed Tony Chopper into the emergency room. She was going to make a full recovery. Naruto shared his report to the council, who shared it with the Britannias. It was safe to say that an alliance was formed immediately after that. The two sides also came up with the idea of having a liaison in order to improve their communications. One person from each group would live with the other for a period of time until the two sides felt that their communications had improved. Both Naruto and Nunnally were chosen. Naruto was chosen because the Britannia family wanted to know the person that was responsible for saving one of their own. For Naruto, he was a bit uneasy of going. He always thought of royalty as rich, snobby people who only care about themselves. Naruto didn't want to associate with people like that because they acted like some other people he knew from Konoha. However, when Naruto got to Britannia Palace, he was definitely shocked by what he saw. He was greeted by Lelouch, Cornelia, Euphemia, and Suzaku Kururugi. For the most part, they welcomed Naruto with open arms. Naruto was a bit surprised by their actions. After a few months of living with them, he noticed that they lived a relatively modest lifestyle with little to no snobbiness, none of that stuff. In fact, they were the total opposite. They were great people. He loved interacting with the royal family. The only thing that he didn't get was their rules. He wasn't royalty, so Naruto didn't have the necessary manners or etiquette that they had. He was especially uneasy around Lelouch, who seemed to scold him at every opportunity. During meetings that Naruto attended, he would often fall asleep, bored with the procedures and topics the Britannia family discussed. It was amusing to Euphemia and Nunnally, both giggling as they watched Naruto face down on the table, drooling. Lelouch would immediately yell at him, causing Naruto to wake up in a panic. Even at the dinner table, Naruto would get chastised by Lelouch for not knowing the proper procedure for eating. It was as though no matter what Naruto did, it wasn't good enough for him. Luckily, he had Euphemia and Suzaku there to help him out. It was a bit weird at first, but Naruto and Euphemia became fast friends. Both of them found out that they shared the same dream of peace in the West. Because of this, they started to talk every day and were nearly inseparable. They saw each other as just friends, but loved each other's company. Naruto also found a friend in Euphemia's knight, Suzaku. The two of them formed a strong bond that definitely couldn't be broken. The three became a tight-knit group, going everywhere and doing everything with each other. Naruto also found out that Euphemia and Suzaku had some feelings for each other. Though they rarely displayed it and were not official, Naruto understood the emotions they may have felt and wished he could feel that one day. He was thankful to them that they never made him feel like the third wheel in their friendship. However, them hanging out did get them into a bit of trouble because Lelouch did not approve of Naruto. Though he was grateful that the Jinchuriki had saved Nunnally, the boy was not one of them. He was here as a liaison, and that was it. He didn't want Naruto fraternizing with Euphemia or any others members of the family. The boy was here to improve relations. Lelouch couldn't wait for Naruto to be out of their hair. That all changed, however, when Naruto saved Euphemia. A few weeks later. Though she was a princess, Euphemia was still one of the best pilots in the Britannia faction, and during a time of war, it was all hands on deck. The Britannias were locked in a battle over territory with an enemy faction that was nearby. During the heat of battle, Euphemia's nightmare frame, Gloucester, had been shot down. She was injured and captured by the warlord Char Aznable. The Britannias tried to negotiate a deal for the safe return of Euphemia, however, all deals were rejected. After a few days of failed negotiations, a rescue party was sent. Lelouch personally led the mission. Unfortunately, their nightmare frames were no match for the large force of Gundam suits that Char Aznable sent. The rescue party was routed. Lelouch returned home empty-handed. Their actions forced Char Aznable's hands. He made it public that he would execute Euphemia the next day because of the Britannia's actions. There was no time to gather another rescue team with the sheer size to try and combat the Gundam suits. With no other options, Naruto came up with a more subtle approach. They organized a different rescue party, this time trying to avoid dealing with the mobile Gundam suits that were more powerful than the Britannia's nightmare frames. A group of Naruto, Suzaku, Night Raid, Yusuke and Frankie would go in quietly to retrieve Euphemia without the Char Aznable group being none the wiser. All out of options, Lilich reluctantly gave the go-ahead. The group set out in the dead of night. They knew that Euphemia was being held somewhere in the warlord's mansion. She would be under heavy guard and they may have to fight their way through. However, Naruto figured they would have the upper hand since it would be hard for their enemy to use their Gundam suits indoors. They managed to knock out the border guards and enter the mansion relatively undetected. The mansion was large and greatly lavished. There were so many portraits of the warlord that the group wondered if it would be funny to steal all of them and replace them with erotic pictures. Maybe on their way out. The group searched the mansion without being detected. They managed to find Euphemia, but she was heavily guarded. Naruto's plan came into full effect. Night Raid easily dispatched of the armed guards. They did so quietly and effectively. They are trained assassins after all. Euphemia was chained to the wall and looked like a caged animal. Naruto was pissed at the thought of his friend being treated this way. She awoke to them breaking the chains. She had an impulse to scream, but Naruto made sure to keep her quiet and let her know that they were getting her out of there. Their mission a success, the group then made their way out of the mansion with the princess in tow. Unfortunately, a few guards making their rounds found the mess and instantly sounded the alarms. Now their mission was more complicated. They hadn't brought any backup and the weapons of Yusuke and Frankie were only going to help so much. Gundam squads were mobilized and were searching the area. As the group moved, they were spotted by a squad of mobile suits. The rescue team needed to get out quickly. They did the best they could to get out of the line of fire, but Suzaku was hit. It was a fatal shot. Suzaku knew that even if he was to escape, he wouldn't see tomorrow. Naruto went back to retrieve his friend, but Suzaku refused. If they stayed there any longer, they wouldn't make it out. "Oh Naruto. Leave me," he told the blonde Jinchuriki. "I can't just leave you here Suzaku," Naruto pleaded, trying to pick his friend up. "I'll never make it Naruto, my time has come. You must promise me something. Protect her. Protect her dream. Protect her dream of peace. It is up to you now," Suzaku managed as he coughed up blood. His time was coming soon. Naruto could only look at his friend as he was dying in his arms. Suzaku gave Naruto one last look. A look of hope. He passed away peacefully, knowing that he could entrust Naruto with protecting Euphemia. For the first time in a long time, Naruto lost control. "You can take over, Kurama," he said as the fox smirked from within him. You can imagine what happened next. All I will say is that Char Aznable would never bother the Britannias or the Ryuzen-Paku alliance ever again. The rescue team returned back home, with Euphemia but missing Naruto. She was given immediate medical attention and wouldn't find out about Suzaku's death until she woke up a few days later. Naruto returned the next day, carrying the body of Suzaku. Someone he considered one of his best friends, who accepted him for who he was. He didn't know how to react to losing one of his closest friends from the West. He also didn't know how he would explain this to Euphemia and how the loss of Suzaku would affect her. He shut himself in his room for a few days. He didn't eat, he didn't drink, he couldn't sleep. Luckily, he had his saving grace. Euphemia came to visit him after she finally recovered from her injuries. She sat with Naruto on the opposite side from him on his bed. The two didn't speak a word to each other. They both just stared off into space, just basking in the presence of each other. They both were missing something or someone. It was always the three of them, hanging out or getting on Lelich's nerves. For Naruto, he loved having people he could be around who liked him for who he was and not people who hated him for something he couldn't control. For Euphemia, Suzaku was the first person she ever had feelings for. He was her knight and her closest confidant. She would never go anywhere without him and because of that, the two had developed a sort of romantic relationship. Though they couldn't act on it because of Lelich, the two enjoyed the times they spent together. But Suzaku now gone, Euphemia felt a part of her heart was ripped away, but she could also tell that Suzaku's death also heavily affected Naruto. Knowing his story, he never really had other people besides Jiraiya who he was close with. They were his first real friends and he didn't know how to really react. She needed to be by his side so that they could both grieve together. The two of them sat in Naruto's room for a few hours. With some inner strength and courage, Naruto moved first. He moved to Euphemia's side. He gave her a strong hug. She in turn, immediately started to cry in his chest. She had lost a great friend, a person who sacrificed so much just for her. She cried and she cried. Naruto also teared up as he felt her tears soak up into his clothes. Euphemia cried until her tears ran out. Naruto was about to let her go, but she pulled herself back into him. She didn't want him to let go. She didn't want him to leave her, too. Please, and Naruto. Don't let me go, she whispered. Naruto just held her tighter. I will never ever let you go, Yuffie. I'm never going to let you go until the day I die. I will go to the ends of the earth to protect you and your dream, Naruto told her. The funeral was held for Suzaku a week later when there was a break in the fighting. Many came to attend his funeral, especially from the Ryuzen-Paku alliance. They felt like they lost one of their own and took steps to ensure that they wouldn't lose another one again. Naruto watched the funeral proceedings from afar. He partly blamed himself for Suzaku's death as he was the one who came up with the plan in rescuing Euphemia. He couldn't help but feel responsible for hurting her too by failing to protect someone she had feelings for. Even after the moment he and Euphemia shared, he couldn't stand to look her in the eye. He needed his time alone and think things through before he could move on. After Suzaku's funeral, Euphemia visited Naruto again. She hadn't seen him since the embrace they shared together. He was staring out of the window when she entered his room. Though she couldn't see his face, she knew that he had not gotten any sleep for some time. She knew that he was taking this very hard, especially since she didn't see him at the funeral. She moved slowly towards him, but Naruto didn't move from where he stood. She wrapped her arms around him and felt his hands on hers. He was taller than her, so her head was leaning into his back. Naruto turned around slowly and returned the embrace. They stayed like this for a few minutes before either spoke. I do not and will not ever blame you for Suzaku's death, Naruto, Euphemia started as she looked up to see him staring off into the distance. She placed her palm on his cheek and forced him to look at her. Those words you told me a week ago, that you would protect me in my dream. I believe every word of it. Suzaku told me that if there was anyone who could help make my dream become a reality, it would be you, Naruto. You have grown so much in the short span that I have known you, you have surprised even Lelouch with your actions. I know you will miss Suzaku a lot as will I, but he would want us to keep going until our dreams are achieved. Let's keep going together, Euphemia said as Naruto nodded in response. The two held each other for a bit longer before Euphemia finally departed for the evening. It was this speech that would start to snap Naruto out of his depression. This was also the day that their relationship changed to something more than just friends. Naruto and Euphemia had met up in his room every night since then. No matter if Naruto was on the front lines or he was training, Euphemia made it an effort to see him. Some nights they would talk and catch up. Naruto would tell her about the battles they had fought and so on and so on. Other nights they wouldn't say a single word to each other. They would just enjoy the company of the other. Over a few months, the two started to develop feelings for the other, and it started to become evident to the two that these feelings were only going to get stronger. Naruto didn't know how to feel about this, especially knowing that Euphemia and Suzaku had once had feelings for each other. He felt like he was betraying his brother, even though Suzaku was no longer alive. He didn't know how to go about this until one night, he had a very vivid dream. He was in a large garden flowing with life. On one of the benches in the garden, Suzaku sat, relaxing and taking in the amazing scenery. He noticed Naruto and called for him to sit next to him. Naruto cautiously approached Suzaku, who chuckled at the blonde's hesitance. I'm not going yell at you like Lelouch, Naruto. Suzaku laughed as Naruto chuckled a little and took a seat to his best friend. After a few minutes of silence and looking around, Naruto broke. I'm sorry, Suzaku. I'm sorry I couldn't save you. I'm sorry I've been seeing Euphemia. Arg, it feels like I'm betraying you by having these feelings for her. Naruto said as Suzaku started to laugh really hard. Naruto was on edge because he didn't know what was going to happen. Why are you apologizing, Naruto? You do realize that I am no longer alive, right? Euphemia can have feelings for whoever she wants, and so can you. Besides, I think it's time for both of you to move on, Suzaku said. But you're someone who I consider like a brother. I shouldn't be having these feelings for someone you also had feelings for. Naruto responded. Do not worry, Naruto. I have been watching you too. Watching the way you two interact with each other. I see the look in Euphemia's eyes when she looks at you. I can see her whole demeanor change when she is with you. She feels safe and secure. You two were meant for each other. Do not let me get in the way of both of your happiness, Suzaku said with a smile on his face. Naruto was still wary and Suzaku could tell. Though we only knew each other for a short time in this life, we will be brothers for eternity in the afterlife. My last words to you were to protect Euphemia and make sure her dreams come true. You just started to do that and are already 10x better than me. I think now, you should make her dreams come true with you standing by her side till death do you two apart. You are her everything, Naruto, and I can see that she is starting to become your everything as well. Whatever decisions you two make, I will still love you both from the afterlife. I will be watching you both and can't wait to see what the future holds you two, Suzaku said as he shook Naruto's hand. Remember, protect her with everything you have, and that will be enough for me, Suzaku said as he started to fade away. Naruto woke up immediately after and saw that the sun was peeking over the horizon. That dream, it felt so real, he thought. He took it as a sign that maybe these feelings for Euphemia were meant to be. He just hoped he wouldn't screw it up when the time came. In her room, Euphemia also awoke from nearly the same dream as Naruto. Was this Uzaku's way of telling her that she needed to move on? She started to feel that her and Naruto were meant to be and hoped she wouldn't screw things up either. With all of that said, Naruto still didn't know how to express his feelings yet, so Euphemia took the initiative and told him first. They were gazing at the stars on top of the roof of the Britannia Palace after dinner. The two sat close to each other, enjoying each other's warmth. It was then that Euphemia confessed to Naruto her feelings. Naruto reciprocated, albeit a bit nervously, as he fumbled with his words a bit. Euphemia got the message and they celebrated their first kiss that night. A little while after they became official, their relationship was known to only a few people. Lelouch was surprised by this but allowed it to happen. He had finally accepted Naruto, not only as a member of the family, but also as a person. He saw the determination, loyalty, and leadership that Naruto displayed. Though he was young, Lelouch saw that Naruto would be a great leader in the future. Over a year later. Even after finding love, Naruto still understood that there was a war to be won. The Ryuzen-Paku alliance was officially joined by the Britannia alliance and its allies. With their combined strengths, it was only a matter of time before they could finally end the war. The final battle came known as the Battle for the West. It was held in what is now known as the capital, the central city in the west. Naruto led the charge against the three remaining warlords that opposed the Ryuzen-Paku alliance. Naruto and his allies routed the remaining warlords and chased them from their stronghold. The warlords surrendered and scattered their forces to spare their lives. The war was over. Now there could be peace. The day after they won, Naruto proposed to Euphemia in front of all of their friends and family. It was the happiest moment of both of their lives at that point. They married that week in a private ceremony, with their closest friends and family there, then celebrated with the civilians of the West, who cheered on their hero and showered him and his new bride with congratulations. Jiraiya, Hayato Furinji, and All Might were all those who were nominated to become emperor, but all declined. Naruto's new brother-in-law Lelouch was the final nominee to be chosen, but he also declined. He, along with the others who were nominated, supported the movement to allow Naruto to become emperor. He believed that the new era of peace should be guided by the person who spearheaded the idea. Naruto was eventually chosen as emperor of the United Western Empire. That, of course, made Euphemia the empress. She hated the title, but she knew that she could deal with it since now peace was achieved. She was just happy that the man she loved had finally achieved his dream and would make sure that nothing would crush it. She watched Naruto become the one who made all of her dreams come true. Everyone always doubted him, yet he proved them all wrong. He was a hero to everyone, including herself. Present time. Euphemia couldn't believe how lucky she was when thinking back about her early memories of Naruto. Despite his youthfulness, Naruto had turned out to be a great leader. Even though he didn't always show it, Naruto was wise beyond his age. He was given much power but acted fairly. He surrounded himself with people he knew he could trust and were not corrupt. She supported him in everything he did. She couldn't wait for the day that the cause for her husband's sufferings would be eliminated. "Nii-chan, you can't reminisce all day. We have work to do," Nunnally said, snapping Euphemia out of her thoughts. "You're right, Nunnally. Let's get going," Euphemia responded as she put on her outfit for today and headed out to start her day. He must be discussing it now, she thought. The Konoha shinobi had not progressed very far. They were a large group, so sticking out was going to be a problem. They had to go undercover since they couldn't risk getting captured by enemy shinobi. It was going to take them at least a week to get to the west, as long as they didn't get caught along the way. Luckily, the west had granted them access to the merchant shops that were along the route the Konoha shinobi were going. Stopping so that they could eat and rest for a while was a godsend for them. They stopped at one of the larger merchant shops along their route. They had shown their official documents and also the letter from the emperor and were given rooms to stay in for a few hours. The group was very wary of Danzo, Sasuke, and Sai. They didn't like the fact that the old warhawk, his goon, and a traitor were among their group. They couldn't fuck this up or else they would most certainly lose the war. While the group was sitting down for lunch, they heard about the unification festival that was to happen as they got there. The group listened as a few messengers talked about being able to take a break from their work and enjoy some time with their families at the festival. They heard one of the messengers ask about the appearance of the emperor during the festivities, to which the other two answered in the affirmative. They mentioned that the emperor always made an appearance. This piqued the interest of Danzo and Sasuke. Both had fought the emperor previously and lost. Danzo, not being able to use his Sharingan to influence the emperor previously, wanted another shot. Not to mention that Danzo and Sasuke's pride was a bit hurt after getting their asses kicked by the emperor. They wanted revenge. Something that they would probably never get. After a few hours, the entire Konoha group got moving again. They needed to gain an ally as soon as possible. However, they all had a feeling that something was going to go very wrong. Seems like everyone is here, so let us begin, Naruto said, kicking off today's meeting. As he scanned the room, most of the council was present. There were a few scheduled absences today. All Might was proctoring an exam at UA High School, Tony Chopper was away at the medical center, and Son Goku was on leave for an indefinite period of time in what was referred to as Saiyan business. Who's going to go first? Naruto asked. A young woman with orange hair, who sat closest to Naruto, stood up first. Her hair was relatively long, hanging down almost the entire length of her back. She had a slim, hurgless figure. Her large round brown eyes gazed at Naruto first, before she looked down at her documents to give her report. All equipment items have been purchased for the Unification Festival. I took your advice, Naruto, and didn't hold back on the spending this year. We were in the black last quarter, so there was money left over to spend on the necessities. I managed to get some pretty good deals for the decorations this year, so there are a lot more of those going up on the buildings. Also, a few more food vendors were added. The merchants also did very well this past quarter. We will likely see a profit of 100 million Ryo just from the merchants alone, which puts us ahead of schedule in terms of the future plans. We are also expecting record attendance this year for the festival, so profits should be up from the billion Ryo we made last year. I'm estimating around 2 to 3 billion Ryo. Those are the more pressing issues that we discussed last time. I know you hate reading reports, but I have the rest of them on your desk for Lelich to read, the woman finished as she smirked at the last part of her report. She put her documents back into her binder and sat back down. TCH, smart ass. Well, I'm glad there will be more vendors this year. We don't want a repeat of last year when your husband and Goku nearly cleaned us out before the week was over, Nami, Naruto retorted. Nami's official title was Director of Finance. She was selected because of her expertise with money. Mu Furinji was chosen by her to be her assistant. Though she enjoyed being in control of the money, Nami hated the official title. She told Naruto that she would only accept the position if she could be called the finance mistress. Naruto obliged, and Nami took the job soon thereafter. Naruto couldn't believe that she took the job just because of a name change. Next to Nami sat her bubbly husband, Naruto's good friend and general of the seas, Monkey D. Luffy. Like his wife, Luffy didn't want his title to be Director of the Navy or General of the Navy. He wanted something a bit cooler. He didn't want to sound like he was leading Marines. He came up with General of the Seas, to which Naruto accepted. What was wrong with these strawwats and names? Luffy's position made him the general of the entire navy of the Western Empire. It took some getting used to for Luffy at first, since he was used to managing a smaller crew of pirates. However, he quickly found that he liked being in command of everything, even though he would usually pass those decisions off to Dutcher Rock, his second-in-commands. Next to them usually sits Tony Chopper, but he rarely attends the council meetings due to his obligations at the medical center. Chopper is the medical director of the Western Empire. Chopper's second-in-commands are Ma Kensei and Akasum Kitsuji. Next to Chopper sits Naruto's 5 generals. Zaraki Kenpachi, Kisame, Roy Mustang, Integra Hellsing, and Naruto's brother-in-law Lelich. They are responsible for the West's large army that they have built up over the past few years, and also the border patrol. They are all battle-tested and know what it takes to win a war. However, before they can take any action, they must go through Naruto or Euphemia first. In addition to the generals, each of them has their own second-in-command, in case they are absent for whatever reason. Kenpachi has Yuichiro Kusajishi, Kisame has Himura Kenshin, Roy Mustang has his wife, Riza Hawkeye, Integra Hellsing alternates between Alucard or Seraz Victoria, and Lelich has his sister Cornelia. Rounding out the table are Naruto's advisors, Hayato Furinji, Jiraiya, and the absent All Might. Other important members of the empire that don't hold council seats are Sanji, who is the culinary director. His second-in-commands are Yukihira Soma and Nakiri Arena. Nina Einstein is the director of science. She was specifically chosen by Euphemia to lead the science department, and her assistant is Rintaro Akabe. Both Euphemia and Nunnally helped run the civilian side of things and have their own council. At first, Naruto hated the idea of having any type of council. He knew all too well that the councils in the east had more power than the Kages themselves. However, he understood that he couldn't run the large country by himself, so he needed people he trusted. He chose people that he had fought with during the war and had come to respect. These people were extremely loyal to not only Naruto, but also to the people of the West. They were considered heroes during the war and were trusted to keep the peace that they had all helped bring to the West. Who's next? Roy Mustang was next to stand up. He looked extremely tired instead of his usual stoic self this morning. His bloodshot eyes and large bags under them was a dead giveaway that the man had not slept in some time. The southern border rebels led by Father have been put down, rather quietly I might add, by the squad we sent in. There were no casualties on our side, and the Elric brothers and Colin are due to make their return by sunset. That is all I have to report. The full report will be on your desk, hopefully by the end of the day, he explained as he sat back down with a loud huff. Naruto nodded at his report. Someone must be tired from all the crying last night, huh? Jiraiya joked, the Toad-san, noticing the unusually short report coming from the Flame Alchemist. You can't even imagine all of the crying I had to put up with last night. It's only been a week and the kid is already driving me nuts. Mustang said in defeat, which raised laughter from the rest of the council, including Naruto. The next few reports were the same old, same old. Kisame talked about the incidents that occurred at the border and that it was dealt with almost immediately. Kenpachi mentioned the expected arrivals of their out-of-town guests that were expected to arrive within the next few days. He mentioned that the accommodations were already set and that security around those areas was airtight. As Kenpachi finished, Naruto rose from his seat. It was time to make an announcement that was years in the making. We will need to add a new group to the list of expected visitors, Naruto said, throwing Kenpachi and the rest of the council off. As you know, we have been in contact with a few of the eastern countries over these past couple years. Well, it was only a matter of time before some requested an alliance with us. Just like we predicted, my former home has requested an alliance, Naruto said as an eerie silence fell over the room. Everyone on the council knew the circumstances of Naruto's arrival in the West. The Jinchuriki was very honest about his past. All of the council knew of Naruto's recurring nightmares that he suffered from. There were times when he would not show up to council meetings because of them, and Euphemia would take over for the day. They all knew the pain and hatred he felt towards his old home. Since year 1 of his reign, Naruto implemented a working plan to complete his mission, which was to destroy Konoha and all of the corruption in it. The planning for that mission was accelerated when Naruto had met some of his former friends in the East, as he made some diplomatic trips. Flashback. About a year into his reign, Naruto came to understand that there would be people who would come looking for him from the East. He knew that he was still in the bingo book and was a very profitable target. There were rumors of him and his appearances in the West. He knew Eastern countries and shinobi would try and come to the West, looking to get rich quick. He also knew that word would get out to the east of the West stability and that Eastern countries would try to scout out this new power. So instead of letting the East come to them, Naruto made the West's presence known in the East first. He set up merchant shops and trading outposts in the East. Valuable goods that weren't found anywhere in the East were available for purchase in these shops. In addition, different food products and restaurants came from the West and set up different locations in the East. Word started getting out about the valuable goods that came from the West, and many different Eastern countries were interested in its materials. After they were established, Naruto made an effort to visit these merchant shops to see how they were doing and the progress that they were making in the East. Of course, as he was still a wanted man, Naruto wore a Tengu mask to conceal his identity. In addition to his disguise, the council made sure Naruto was well protected. Mainly due to Euphemia's insistence, they created a special guard that would protect Naruto at all times. It was mandatory that anywhere Naruto went, there would be 2 of his special guard with him. The first 2 that were chosen to be a part of the special guard were 2 Ronin samurai that Naruto had met during the war named Jin and Mugen. The 2 samurai were originally paid to kill Naruto by one of the warring warlords. They clashed with Naruto, who was able to hold his own against the 2 in Kenjutsu. Eventually, Naruto persuaded the 2 samurai to join him in his quest for peace, also promising to give them as much sake and booze they desired. Naruto also allowed few to accompany them, much to the chagrin of Jin and Mugen. The next person that was chosen was Yusuke Urameshi. Naruto and Yusuke became good friends over the course of the war. Yusuke admired Naruto's goal of peace and was actually the first one to nominate Naruto for emperor. He was chosen because of his long-range spirit gun. Urano Zoro was chosen due to his skills with a sword and also because of his high tolerance for pain. He was Naruto's first choice as one of the special guard squad, but Zoro declined at first, citing his need to be with the Straw Hats. However, with Luffy's blessing and at the insistence of his wife, Nico Robin, Zoro accepted Naruto's proposal. The only thing that he wasn't allowed to do while guarding Naruto was give directions. Shigeru Kusaka was chosen due to her strengths as a weapons master. Being able to turn anything into a weapon gave her the versatility that Naruto needed. She was also allowed to bring her pet mouse Dachimaru, who was regarded as a special member of the guard. The final member of the guard chosen was Deku. At the request of All Might, Deku was chosen because of his hand-to-hand combat ability, will and determination that he exhibited. This also allowed the young hero to gain more field experience. If he was unavailable due to his class schedule, Gon Freaks would fill in for the necessary mission, considering he was free from his hunter duties. Once his special guard was set, Naruto started the inspection tours of his merchant houses and trading outposts. It was here that he would finally see some old friends from the past. The first of his former friends that he saw was the new Ino Shikacho trio. Naruto was taking a tour of a merchant facility near the Land of Fire with Jin and Mugen when he came upon the battle between Asuma and his squad against the infamous zombie combo. Things looked bleak for the Konoha shinobi as Haiden was about to start his Jashin curse ritual on Asuma. However, Naruto stepped in and immediately killed the zombie combo. His use of Fuinjutsu allowed Naruto to make the two Akatsuki members mortals and easily killed both with a Rasen Shuriken. The Akatsuki was also a major threat to the west that needed to be eliminated, and Naruto saw his opportunity to kill two of the most powerful Akatsuki members. He had been making sure to keep tabs on them, tracking their every movement through Jiraiya's spy network. They would also be dealt with soon enough. Both Ino and Choji arrived just as Naruto was disposing of Haiden. An unconscious Asuma laid on the ground with a very weak but still standing Shikamaru covering for him. He saw how easily this masked stranger dispatched two of the strongest Akatsuki members. Shikamaru was unsure of the stranger's intentions and was on alert. When Naruto was finished, he turned to the Konoha shinobi. He remembered both Shikamaru and Choji defending him all those years ago from the others. They both still considered Naruto as their friend and fought to protect him as much as they could. However, Naruto remembered the hateful and spiteful words from Ino. His anger boiled up inside of him, seeing the blonde arrive on the battlefield. Shikamaru, even his weakened state, tried to make small talk with this strange group that appeared out of nowhere. He was trying to determine whether the group was friend or foe, while also trying to think of an escape plan, should they need one. "Thanks for your help," Shikamaru said, as Naruto and his two guards never took their eyes off the Konoha shinobi. "Never seen you around before. Which village do you come from?" the Nara asked, as Choji and Ino remained on guard. "None," was Naruto's response. Shikamaru felt a strange presence coming from the masked stranger. The voice also sounded familiar, but the Nara couldn't put his finger on it. "Well, can you at least tell us whether you're friend or foe? I mean, we would like to assume you are friendly since you helped our sensei," Ino interjected, as Naruto twitched a bit in anger. "Assuming things are we? I can tell you for a fact that we are neither friend or foe," Naruto replied, the anger evident in his voice. The Ino Shikacho picked up on his change of tone and were ready for anything at this point. "Well, if you're not our friend, then we will see you as a foe," the Yamanaka responded. "You should have let the Nara do the talking. Your voice annoys me, fangirl," Naruto said as they drew the ire of Ino. She readied herself for battle and was prepared to use her clan jutsu on the masked stranger. "No wait, Ino." Shikamaru managed to yell out, but it was too late. The masked man threw a special kunai on the ground near the group. He teleported to the kunai in a flash and slammed a kick into her face before she could react. Shikamaru and Choji were forced to help their teammate and got into formation. They would try to use their teamwork to defeat the masked man. However, on the inside, Shikamaru had an uneasy feeling about this. He teleported to the kunai almost immediately. "That wasn't what I think it was it?" he thought to himself. Before the Ino Shikacho knew it, the entire ground around them was filled with kunai. The Nara didn't know it at the time, but what he was thinking was spot on. Naruto had learned the Hiraishin, the jutsu created by the Nidaime, but made popular by Naruto's father before him. Naruto had learned the jutsu by accident. As he was undergoing Fuinjutsu training with Jiraiya, Naruto made a mistake with his kanji character writing. He wrote it on a kunai and threw it at a dummy target, wanting the kunai to explode. Instead, Naruto teleported to the kunai and landed face first into the target. Jiraiya couldn't believe what he had seen. Naruto had just used his father's technique by mistake. Jiraiya and Naruto trained to see how far he could go using the jutsu. After a while, Naruto improved his Hiraishin distance. He was able to travel about a few countries distance away and also was able to take about 20 people with him, though he would wear out extremely quickly. Back to their fight, the new Ino Shikacho never stood a chance. Naruto jumped around and teleported to each kunai with ease. He knocked out Ino and slammed a little Rasengan into her body. She was bleeding profusely on the ground while Shikamaru and Choji tried to deal with Naruto. Naruto appeared behind Choji and knocked him out with a chop to the neck which left Shikamaru by himself again. Unfortunately for him, his opponent was nowhere to be found. Shikamaru took out a kunai, readying himself and searching frantically around the area to find Naruto. Jin and Mugen could only laugh, knowing exactly where their boss had gone. In an instant, Shikamaru felt a kunai at his neck. He looked down at it while his opponent appeared behind him out of nowhere. "It seems Kami is on your side today, Nara Shikamaru, for I am in a good mood. However, I do not think next time you and your squad will be so lucky. I would hurry and make sure the blonde bimbo over there gets help quick. You don't want your teammate bleeding out, do you now?" Naruto teased the lazy shinobi as Shikamaru dropped his kunai. Naruto then appeared by his two guards as Shikamaru stood there, frozen in the spot he stood. The Konoha shinobi watched as the masked man and his two companions vanished in a yellow flash. It was safe to say the Nara got out of dodge quickly. When they returned to Konoha, Shikamaru gave his report to Kakashi. Kakashi and the elders were stunned by his report. They needed to know immediately if this masked man was an enemy or a foe. Kakashi sent out his available Chunin and Jonin squads. Their orders were to bring in the masked man for questioning should they find him. If needed, deadly force was allowed. When Naruto returned home, he knew the predicament he put himself in. Konoha shinobi would be searching for him at all times. Euphemia was a bit worried for her husband, putting himself out there like that. For Naruto, however, he couldn't wait for the next group of Konoha shinobi he would meet. In the meantime, he made sure to ease the nerves of his wife. Team Guy was the next unlucky group to meet Naruto. A few weeks after his encounter with the Ino Shikacho, Naruto was finishing up his last stop in this current inspection tour. He brought along Shigeru and Deku for this tour. Team Guy minus Guy himself had been inspecting a few of the West's merchant shops themselves, seeing the items they produced and tried to maybe gauge their power levels. They observed a masked man down the road who was accompanied by a young woman with raven hair and a shorter young man in a jumpsuit who sported green hair. The group decided to quietly follow them, hoping that they'd maybe get an idea of their strength and where they were headed to next. As Team Guy followed, Naruto knew they had company. He kept walking, looking to lead Team Guy into a trap. He brought them into an isolated location, far away from the main path where it wouldn't be easy to see and hear them. Naruto then stopped, which caused Team Guy to do the same. Naruto sent Shigeru and Deku ahead while he waited. Eventually, the two disappeared into the distance. Naruto took a deep breath before turning around. "You can come out now, Konoha shinobi," he said as Team Guy appeared out of the trees. "Enemy shinobi, you are hereby ordered to come with us for questioning," Neji said, as Naruto looked unfazed at his former friends. "I have done nothing wrong," was Naruto's reply, forcing the Konoha shinobi to ready themselves. "You harmed Konoha shinobi in battle. That is enough for us to bring you in," Neji answered back. "I was merely defending myself," Naruto replied. "If you do not come peacefully, we will be required to use deadly force," Lee said as Naruto took a fighting stance. "Well then, let's see how deadly you can get," he smirked under his Tengu mask. That's all it took for Team Guy to move in. Neji and Lee came up with a frontal attack, while Tenten stayed behind for support using her weapons mastery. Tenten released a powerful array of weapons at Naruto out of her scrolls. Unfortunately, Naruto was much too fast for that. He shunshined out of the way easily. Neji and Lee combined tried to land a hit on him, however, Naruto deflected each shot with ease. He figured he needed to separate them and jumped back to create some distance. He then let out a strong whistle. Out of nowhere came Deku, his punch just barely missed an unsuspecting Neji. Tenten was about to change targets to Deku when Shigeru popped out and swung her staff at Tenten. The Konoha weapon specialist dodged while trying to pop a scroll to get her own weapon out. She wouldn't get that chance. Shigeru gave her no time and was on her every second. She hit Tenten with a combination attack, landing a blow to the abdomen and then the back of the neck, knocking the weapon's Kunoichi out. Lee was having his hands full with Naruto. The masked man was able to keep pace with Lee's Taijutsu. Naruto was able to land shot after shot on Lee, finding holes in the Taijutsu specialist's defenses. As Lee was focused with protecting his upper body, Naruto started to go lower. He started to pepper Lee's leg, the same leg that Tsunade healed years ago. Eventually, Lee's leg gave out and snapped after taking a kick. He fell to one knee, barely being able to hold himself up and defend himself. He received a swift kick to his head that he barely managed to block in return. Unfortunately, the kick knocked Lee back so far that it dragged his entire leg across the ground, causing more damage. He grabbed his leg, yelling out in serious pain, and was now out of the fight. Naruto then turned his attention to Neji, who seemed to get all he could handle with Deku. It was now time to give the Hyuga an ass whooping. Naruto jumped in front of an attack that would have landed on Deku and easily caught it. He forced the Hyuga back, causing Neji to get a little off balance. The two stared down each other. "It seems like fate doesn't treat you well today, Hyuga," Naruto taunted Neji. "I do not believe I am resigned to any fate. I learned that from a good friend a long time ago," Neji responded. "Oh? A good friend? Do you Konoha shinobi abandon those you deem good friends?" Naruto asked, the vile seeping in his voice. "We do not abandon our comrades, especially in their time of need," was Neji's response. "Not according to Uzumaki Naruto." At this, Neji froze. Uzumaki Naruto. This masked man knew Naruto. "How do you know Uzumaki Naruto? What have you done with him?" Neji asked, rage building inside of him. "I haven't done anything with him. He's just a good friend is all," Naruto said as he air-quoted the good friend part. "Please tell us where he is, we need to know that he is alright," said Lee, who was crawling near Neji. "Oh, I'm not sure I can do that. Plus, I don't think he wants to associate with people like you any longer. You know, he told me about the two of you. The bushy brows and the Hyuga. How much of his time he invested in you two. The great lengths he went for the two of you. Yet when he needed you the most, you repaid him with silence. I can't believe he wasted his precious time on the two of you, Naruto spoke, anger and rage reaching a boiling point in him. Neji and Lee could only look down in disgust at themselves for their actions. They knew they didn't back up Naruto during his time of need, but were working to rectify those mistakes. This man knew Naruto, and he possibly knew where Naruto was. This was their shot at redemption. You will tell us where he is or so help me Kami I will beat it out of you, Neji said as he got back into his 64-palm stance. Well, start praying then, Hyuga, was Naruto's reply as his figure poofed into a log. Neji used his Byakugan to try and find him, but he wasn't in the surrounding area. What happened next was almost pure deja vu for Neji. Out came the masked man from the ground underneath him, landing a chakra-empowered uppercut straight to Neji's jaw, knocking the Hyuga out cold. Lee was the only conscious one left. Naruto, however, let him stay that way for now. I hope you find someone to heal that leg for you, Konoha Shinobi. That injury isn't going to heal as quickly as the last time, Naruto said as he and his companions walked off into the distance, leaving Team Guy behind. Team Guy was found by their sensei and a backup team that was sent to look for them. When they returned to Konoha, Lee found out that his leg would heal, but the recovery time would be much longer since Tsunade was the only one that could perform the surgery and allow the leg to heal faster. Neji and Tenten gave their report to Kakashi, who under pressure from the elders and the council, was forced to put the masked man in the bingo book. Naruto was the first person in history to have himself put in the bingo book twice at the same time. He was ranked an S-class shinobi and had a fight at your own risk warning attached to his name. The last and final group that Naruto ran into was Team 8. Naruto had brought along both Zoro and Yusuke for this tour, which would be Naruto's last for a while. They had just finished their last stop on the inspection tour and were prepared to eat Naruto's favorite meal before heading back to the Empire. As they got their food, the group was interrupted by the arrival of Team 8. Naruto was getting extremely annoyed with these run-ins with his former classmates. He would have to leave a strong message with this one. Kurenai and her team confronted the masked man, who looked prepared to eat a meal. She was not one to usually interrupt someone while they were eating, but she had her orders. I hate to be rude and interrupt, but we will need you to come with us. You are wanted for questioning by our Hokage for harming Konoha Shinobi in the Land of Fire, she explained as Naruto just broke his chopsticks and was prepared to eat. The young emperor sighed, the food is going to get cold. I better end this quick, he thought. He got up from his seat, turning his attention to Team 8. He saw Kurenai, Kiba, Shino, and Hinata prepared to strike. You know, I hate being ordered around by people who have no business bothering me. Also, for the millionth time, I did not harm your shinobi out of randomness, I merely was defending myself, he said. That's no excuse. Now come with us buddy, or face the consequences, Kiba spoke, him and Akamaru ready to strike at any moment. Naruto let out a loud groan. He then started to weave hand signs at blazing speeds. When he was done, everyone was waiting for something to happen. A few seconds went by and still nothing. Kiba saw this opportunity to strike. I don't know how you managed to knock out the others, but you aren't as strong as they said you were. My turn now. Kiba said as he and Akamaru launched at Naruto. Itsuga. Kiba, no. Yelled Kurenai, unfortunately, she was too late. Naruto easily caught both Kiba and Akamaru by the head and slammed them into the ground, leaving them unconscious. You must learn to teach your students patience, or they'll never make it past the age of 20, Naruto said as he stared at Kurenai. Shino started to weave his signs, and his swarm of bugs came from under his sweater. Unfortunately, they started to drop like flies, literally. My signs were for your bugs, Aburami. I swear, your team must be the most predictable team that Konoha has sent out to get me, Naruto said as he grinned maniacally under his mask. It's my turn now, he said as he launched a few kunai in the air. He teleported to each kunai, jumping in between them at record speeds as they made their way near Team 8. They didn't even know what hit them. Naruto knocked out Shino with a chop to the neck while he grabbed Kurenai simultaneously by the back of the neck and slammed her to the ground. He left both unconscious as he stood up and observed the Hyuga, who was in her fighting stance, preparing for anything. He studied her. He felt something was different about her. She didn't seem like that shy and nervous girl from before. In all honesty, Naruto didn't really know how he felt about Hinata. He always saw her as a shy person, and she would always end up fainting while he was around her. Though she never defended him, Naruto felt very differently about her, leading him to spare her, for now. He turned around and walked back to the ramen, confusing both Hinata and his special guard. They kept a watch on the Hyuga while Naruto sat back down to eat. He checked the temperature of the bowl, grinning under his mask that the ramen was still hot. He was getting ready for his first bite when. Spirit gun. Yusuke shot a barrage of kunai that was headed for Naruto. Yusuke shot down most of them in the air, while Zoro finished off anything else that was left. A squad of 10 Anbu, Danzo and Sasuke made their presence known. Hinata went to check on her teammates while the arriving group moved in. Of course my future wife is the only one standing. I know beauty and power when I see it. You will provide me with strong offspring, Sasuke said to Hinata, who ignored him completely. You have made quite a commotion, my friend. I see you can handle your business quite well, Danzo started as Sasuke observed the masked man sitting at the counter. You know, I can get you off the hook from these other idiots if you join me. Having a powerful person like you under my command would help make Konoha the strongest country the world has ever known, Danzo finished as Naruto didn't even acknowledge the old man. In fact, he was preparing his first bite of ramen when the bowl exploded. The soup and noodles went everywhere. Naruto was furious that a good bowl of ramen had gone to waste. He got up quickly, looking to see the culprit of this atrocity. He saw the Uchiha grinning, you remind me of this dope that loved ramen. Too bad he was weak and got banished. Interesting you say that Uchiha because I swore I heard that this dope defeated you in battle. I also heard that he got banished because he beat you up too much, Naruto taunted, causing the Uchiha to flare up in anger. Who told you these lies? I'll kill this person myself if I have the chance. Sasuke yelled in anger. I know for sure they aren't lies, Uchiha. I don't think Uzumaki Naruto is one to lie about these things. The dope? Where is he? Take me to him so I can finish him off once and for all. Let me think about that. How about fuck no? I think that was the answer you were looking for, Naruto said, causing the Uchiha's anger to boil over. Now, if you know where that demon brat is, it would be wise to tell us. We outnumber you here. You don't stand a chance against us, Danzo interjected, liking his chances. HMPH. Is that a challenge, old man? How's about this? Why don't you, your pet Uchiha, and your little goon squad over here just fuck off? No one orders us around. So if you know what's good for you, you will turn around and leave before you do something you regret, Naruto threatened. Well, have it your way, Danzo said as he signaled his root Anbu to move in. Just as Naruto predicted, it wasn't good for the Konoha shinobi. Though they were outnumbered 12-3, the emperor and his personal guard took it to the root Anbu. Danzo was too busy trying to unwrap his bandages when he was knocked unconscious by the back of Zoro's sword. In the meantime, Naruto and Sasuke squared off. Naruto noticed that the Uchiha hadn't improved much since the last time they fought. 3 years of house arrest and being forbidden from shinobi training would do that to a person. Naruto took advantage of this and toyed with the Uchiha. He didn't even have to use any ninjutsu. Taijutsu was all he needed to knock out the Uchiha. Naruto started off low this time, kicking the Uchiha in the legs and most likely breaking them both. He then went to work on Sasuke's midsection, then his arms until the Uchiha couldn't stand any longer. Sasuke was in major pain. He hadn't felt pain like this before since the last time he faced off against Naruto. He dropped to his knees, unable to stand anymore due to the damage that his legs took. He was nearing the point of unconsciousness when the masked man grabbed him by the hair and forced Sasuke to look at him. He couldn't do anything to stop this since both his arms were broken. Look here, you little shit. I'm tired of you Konoha shinobi coming after me like this. Tell your Hokage that if he wants his village to remain standing, he will leave me the fuck alone. It would be wise to do so since I'm the emperor of the United Western Empire. If he doesn't comply, I will burn Konoha down to the ground, Naruto said as he knocked the Uchiha unconscious. With no food, Naruto decided that it was time to return home. He would have much planning to do. Before that, he noticed Hinata still standing. She observed him, also hearing what he had told Sasuke before he knocked him out. I apologize for the inconvenience, Hyuga. I do hope we meet again on better terms, Naruto told her as he put his hand on Zoro and Yusuke's shoulders, and then they vanished. When the shinobis from Konoha got back home, Hinata gave her report to Kakashi. When the copy ninja found out that they had been targeting the emperor of the United Western Empire, he immediately took his name out of the bingo book. Kakashi was also perplexed about the news that the emperor knew Naruto and that most likely his sensei's son was in the west somewhere. Unfortunately for Kakashi, he didn't know for sure that Naruto was in the west. He wanted to go, but he was still holding out hope that Tsunade would give him a full confirmation that Naruto was there. He needed to send word to her and hope that she would answer him back soon. Then flashback. The Konoha group will be here by the second day of the festival. I assume they'll arrive by nightfall. We will make the necessary preparations for them, yes? Naruto asked as he directed his attention to Kenpachi who gave him a head nod. Good. Then it is settled then, Naruto said before a hand rose up from the flame alchemist. Forgive me for the skepticism here boss, but do you think this is still a good idea to invite them during the festival? He asked. Yes it is. Everyone looked towards the door as Euphemia stepped in the room followed by Nunnally and Akame. The rest of the council stood up at attention as the empress made her way to the side of her husband. It is time they pay for their sins. When they learn who they're dealing with, they will run and hide like cowards, Euphemia finished as Naruto agreed with her sentiments. In a way, this will also allow me to face my demons. When this is all over, we will prepare for the next stage of the plan. Am I understood? Yes, boss, was the reply he got from his entire council. Good. This meeting is adjourned. You may return to your duties, Naruto said as he acknowledged his council and walked out of the room with his wife, Jiraiya, and Itachi. Most of the council waited for him to leave before they all huddled up together. Okay, who wants to bet that Naruto kills somebody from his hometown when they come here? Asked Nami. Everyone raised their hand. I said get back to your duties. Naruto yelled from down the hall. Immediately, the council dispersed and returned to their assignments. 1,000 ryo minimum, Nami yelled aloud, to no one in particular. The end. So how was this part? I hope you like it. And if you like it, share this part with your friends and like the video too. And don't forget to subscribe our channel for daily awesome fanfiction. Okay, it's time for me to go. Bye bye.